Well, with the cost of flights sky high and availability difficult and train services barely limping along, many people may be considering a long-distance bus trip to get to their end-of-year holiday destination. But the safety of these buses is a concern. Intercape has been the target of a number of violent attacks in the past year, and it's now accusing the Transport Minister of a dereliction of duty by not protecting the industry. In September, the company went to court to compel authorities to provide a plan for their protection. The court ruled in Intercape's favour, but the Transport Minister is now appealing that ruling. I'm joined now by Intercape CEO Johann Ferreira. Mr. Ferreira, thank you so much for joining us. I wonder if you could start by just summing up the kind of security problems that Intercape and other long-haul bus services have been experiencing.
Well, as I mentioned many times before on various occasions, this is a problem that arose in 2015 and it carried right through until 2019 when it started to turn violent. From 2015 to 2019, it was threats by the taxi operators, threatening the bus drivers, threatening the passengers, questioning the validity of the permits. But by 2019, it then started to turn violent in the sense that they started to stone the coaches, they started to physically attack the passengers, the drivers, and then it escalated to the extent that they started to shoot at the drivers, shoot at the passengers. They, in fact, killed one driver outside our depot in Cape Town, and there was about more than 150 cases opened of threats, terrorism, shootings, stonings in both the province of the Eastern Cape and also the Western Cape, and in a minimal way in Gauteng.
It sounds extreme and dramatic. Why did you feel you had to go to court, and what were you hoping to achieve through the court process?
Well, when we saw the attacks in the last 2 years escalated, we wrote letters to the state president, we wrote letters to Bekechele, to Fikile Mbalula, and we forewarned them about the escalated violence, and we said to them, if you don't act now, blood will be on your hands. People will get killed, people will get injured, and they didn't listen to us. They absolutely ignored, they didn't even recognize the letters that we sent. So various calls on social media, as I say, direct communication with these three government officials led to nowhere. So we had no choice to go to court and to ask the court's assistance. And Judge John Smith said, that it is now up to the court to force government to get off from their seats and actually go and do something about this issue. And he said, it will take time for the grinding wheels of government to start working. And he's now compelling both the National Minister of Transport and the MEC of Transport of the Eastern Cape to carry out their constitutional and fiduciary duties. They have a constitutional duty to look after their portfolio, be it this, and in this instance, the transport industry.
What do you want them to do exactly? What would work to keep the buses safe? I mean, are we talking armed police guards with every single bus, which doesn't sound feasible practically?
No, it doesn't sound feasible, it doesn't sound practical, but if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. If they have to deploy an army to protect the travelling public of South Africa, then that's what they must do. If there's an insurgent in KwaZulu-Natal and they have to deploy the army to keep people at bay, then that's what they must do. You cannot let anarchy reign in a particular province because the police and the traffic department, the Department of Transport sit on their hands and not do anything. Intercape is not only involved in local tourism and local transportation, we also do tourism from abroad. So the latest shootings were actually less than a kilometer from the international airport. So Intercape coaches carry school children, it carries cross-border passengers, it carries passengers from Europe and all over the world. And not that one life matters more than the other, but this can create an international incident.
Why do
So
you? Yeah.
we have. Yes.
So what do you have any insight as to why government is now actively resisting? You could perhaps argue that it's the, as the judge said, the slow wheels of government. But now we have a situation where the court ruled in Intercape's favour. My understanding is that the MEC for Transport in the Eastern Cape did as the court ruled, which was provide some sort of transport plan. And then, if I'm not mistaken, the Transport Minister overruled the MEC and said, no, we're going to appeal this. Do you understand why they're doing this?
Yeah, look, what in fact happened, and it's important to understand the sequence of events. So if you understand the sequence of events that's happening there, you can then connect the dots, and then you can form a picture in your mind about the apathy and the disdain of in this particular instance for Fikile Mbalula. So just to reiterate, he was informed on various occasions about this issue, and this issue stems from 2015. He in fact got involved just before COVID by sending a delegation to the Eastern Cape to look into the matter with recommendations. Then COVID happened. Then everything came to a standstill. At the end of COVID, these attacks then escalated, and then we again informed the minister and said, these are the attacks, these are the case numbers, please do something and do it now. And we wrote to Bekele as well. Now, it is written in the Constitution that different government institutions should work together for the greater good of South Africa. In this instance, what we suggested is that the South African Police Force and the Department of Transport work together and look into the matter and see who is behind this, what are the alternative motives. So I can tell you categorically it's the taxi associations in South Africa. There is no doubt in my mind, and the police has got all the evidence and they are investigating. So we can move on from that point. So come to your question, why are they actively resisting? The MEC in the Eastern Cape, the former MEC, actually sat down with the taxis after they blocked the road at Aditya and agreed with them that Intercape will not operate in certain areas in the Eastern Cape. So what that means, it then deprives the public from choosing their own transport. It forces them into specific operators, which is in this instance taxis, and certain other bus operators that agrees to the taxis' demands, price fixing, depart on certain times, only a certain number of buses, and of course, protection money in the end of the day. Those are all the things that Intercape said no for. So now you have a situation where the court has compelled both the National Minister and the MEC of the Eastern Cape to come up with a plan together with the South African Police Force to safeguard the travelling public of South Africa, which is the right thing to do in terms of the Constitution and their statutory duties. But in all wisdom of Fikile Mbalula, I think this man needs a brain transplant, to tell you the honest truth. He has now sat back and said, I will appeal in the first instance, I will appeal this ruling, and I will appeal it on the basis that I have no obligation to do anything. Secondly, I will let's call it for a better word, support whatever the MEC in the Eastern Cape does. So what the Eastern Cape MEC has done, they have come with an half-hearted, half-baked plan in the time that they were allotted by the court to come up with a proper plan how to safeguard the passengers. Intercape had 10 days to reply on that, and that reply was filed last Friday. And now it's up to the MEC to either accept the Intercape plan, which is a well thought through integrated plan with the police, and also we've done their work for them, with the police and the National Department of Transport. So the MEC can decide, yes, we're going to take it, or they can reject it. Mm-hmm. We will obviously not let this appeal go through. We will oppose this appeal vehemently, and I think Fikile is in for another hiding, a second one.
You're clearly very angry with the minister.
I am.
Talk to me about passengers on your bus service this festive season. Can you guarantee that your buses will be as safe as any other road user this festive season?
Well, look, there's no guarantees in life. I can't guarantee anything. All I can say is Intercape is doing its very best to safeguard its passengers. The MEC of the Western Cape, Alan Winde, is coming to our premises on the 6th to inspect the premises and to make sure that we have all the checks and balances in place. He's, in fact, the only MEC that has reached out to us and his government. And I must commend Alan Winde on reaching out and working with us proactively, where in the Eastern Cape, there is nothing coming out of the Eastern Cape, nothing from the police, nothing at all. And it's very concerning that there are these big disparities between the different, let's call it, government approaches in the different provinces.
Right.
But yes, you are right. I'm really frustrated and disappointed at Fikile Mbalula. I really think he's got either he gets very bad advice from his legal team, or he has an alternative agenda, but he's not supporting his constituents. He's not supporting the people that voted the ANC into place. And maybe he's just sitting it out until he now gets to the post of the Secretary General of the ANC, and maybe he can mess up that even further.
All right. Thank you so much for talking to us. Do stay in touch. This is going to become a critical issue as we get closer to the festive season. And we do thank you for your time. Intercape CEO Johann Ferreira, not holding back there, clearly extremely angry and frustrated with the Transport Minister. We did actually try and get the Transport Minister. We did request an interview on a slightly different issue. But of course, we would love to give the Transport Minister a chance to reply on this issue, because some very serious allegations have been levelled at him.